The MiGs were interesting, but they were not what he had come all the way from Britain to see. 10 minutes and a few hundred yards later, the commandos had relocated. They were now nearly in spitting distance of yet another Russian airplane, albeit one vastly less sophisticated than the 4 gleaming MiGs. The first new arrival, having landed a scant few minutes ahead of its fighter escort, was now parked on the tarmac, broiling under the intense Caribbean sun. The nearby control tower, almost completely enwreathed in cascading flowering vines, loomed above the airplane but provided no shade at all. The fact that all the tower windows were either shattered or completely missing, and that there were no controllers present up there, seemed to be of little concern to the 5 Russian pilots recently arrived. Hawke raised the Zeiss binoculars to his eyes and studied this aviation relic from another century. Unlike the 4 silver MiG-35s, this was a very old number indeed. It was a dilapidated twin-engine Ilyushin-12 transport, at once a venerable and veritable blast from the past. Hawke caught a sudden glimpse of garish color out of the corner of his eye and quickly shifted his focus left. A vintage Cadillac limo, painted a ripe old shade of lavender, now rolled to a stop a few feet from the starboard wingtip of the IL-12. A small aluminum ladder was hung down from the open cabin door aft of the wing. One of the uniformed crew, looking very much like a yachtsman in white trousers and a blue blazer, appeared at the aircraft hatchway. This chap, clearly DGI, the Cuban Secret Service unit under the control of the KGB, was shielding his eyes from the fierce sunlight and carrying a serious submachine gun. He climbed down the ladder, circled a fading and rusting limo, and bent to examine the driver's paperwork. Apparently finding everything in order, the armed steward called up to another man still aboard the plane. A big chap in full jungle camo was now standing in the opening of the fuselage. Hawke smiled. He knew the Russian army officer by the nickname given him by his German father. But he had made his real reputation fighting rebels in Chechnya. A savage butcher. Der Wolf. The man climbed down the steps to the tarmac with a good deal of athleticism, Hawke noticed. He held a heavy leather suitcase in his hand, but he handled it as if it were a spy novel he'd been reading on the flight. He was a big, bald man with masses of bunched muscle around his neck and shoulders. His shirt sleeves were rolled up to the elbows, revealing powerful forearms. The whole gristly package came with a right bullet of a head, too, gleaming with sweat. Hawke zoomed in on the face, on the hooded, dark, and bushy-browed eyes of the arriving passenger. He took a good long look at the fellow and then handed the glasses to his old friend, an ex-Navy SEAL and former New York Jet, a human mountain from West 129th Street in Harlem known by the name of Stokely Jones, Jr. A much decorated counter-terrorist for hire, he was oft described by Alex Hawke as about the size of your average armoire. "It's him, Stoke," Hawke said. "Ivanov." Stokely Jones took a quick peek and confirmed Hawke's opinion. There was no doubt. The man they'd come to Cuba to kill had arrived right on schedule. That night it turned cold in the mountains. From his vantage point in the jungle peaks of the Sierra Maestra, Commander Hawke could see the misty lights of Cabo Cruz, a small fishing village on the northeastern coast of Cuba, on the coastline far below. To the east, a few more such villages were visible from his vantage point. Dim clusters of light scattered along the black coastline, as if tiny gold coins had been flung out by some giant hand. These were the only signs of civilization visible in the darkness from the mountainside campsite. Hawke pulled his collar up as he looked seaward. The wind was up, heralding a cold front moving north. He knew from CIA ops briefings in Miami that a tropical storm was brewing up to the south of Cuba. It was headed this way, a cold wind out of Jamaica, drawn northward by the warmer Caribbean waters. Hawke swore softly under his breath. Sometimes inclement weather worked in your favor, and sometimes it decidedly did not. Among the 5 men living in the makeshift campsite, the mood around the deliberately low-burning campfire